笑笑啊，
笑笑哈。
笑。
Okay, I think we are live already. Let me try and take a look.
Mm.
It could be live already.
Yes, we are live.
Okay. Are we live?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, yes, we are live. Hello everyone. Okay, y'all may have to like mute off so that there's no what do you call feedback. Yeah.
Mm.
Mute your Facebook if you are on Facebook as well. Okay. Marie, you want to start?
Okay. Hello, everybody. A good afternoon, and yeah, we are nearing the end of the year. Goodness me! So today weather is like our mental strength. Sometimes good, sometimes bad, sometimes rainy, sometimes sunny. Today, I have in fact, four amazing speakers, and there's a surprise element in one of the speaker. But without going too much into details and spoiling the fun as well as the surprise, I would like to introduce the IWFCI president, Annie Chan, who is a good friend of mine, and she's always, so bubbly, so energetic. That's because she's the president. That's why she's the president of IWFCI, known as International Women Federation of Commerce and Industry. So over to you, Annie.
All right, thank you very much, Marie. Oh yes, so Marie was our past on secretary. So I mean, like she's so on top of things that I cannot forget what I need to do. All right, she's always telling me, "Hey, have you done this? Have you done that?" and all that, right? So, but nonetheless, I'm very grateful because of that. Keep us on top of things, making sure that we got all things settled. I mean, as an association, as you know, we're all pro bono, right? So I'm very thankful that people like herself and a few other ladies who is part of the entire exco team is there to support us. Even running of this webinar is all pro bono. Like that we have the support of our exco team to help us find speakers, help us get the flyers done and so on and so forth, and also being, part of the whole webinar to speak and so on and so forth. So like Christina, one of our speakers, is actually part of our exco for this term itself. So yes, thank you very much to Marie for helping us once again. I know she's very busy, but she is always so so ready to step forward and help us. So for that, thank you so much for your help. And of course, to the four ladies that you're seeing on screen later on, thank you so much for taking the time. I know it's midweek, work could be piling up, and this is the last month of the year. Things could be very coming to head to try to finish off. But again, I say I'm very thankful that you're taking time off to support our fourth virtual roundtable or our fourth webinars and all that. So this particular webinar is actually part of our marketing activation campaign, which is in alignment, or rather, which is a lead up to our Global Women Trade Summit next year. And this whole series of campaign is supported by our Singapore Tourism Board. So we all know 2020 was crazy because of COVID-19. We all was looking forward to 2021 being a little bit better. All right, but we all know, yes, although it was a little bit better, it still was tough nonetheless. All right, and I think for business women in business or professional women, we have to still juggle our work, juggle our business, and of course juggle our family time with our family, time with our loved ones. So I'm very sure it wasn't easy, but I'm very sure that we managed to pull through, and I'm sure our four ladies who's going to share with us their stories would also be very thankful. It's going to share with us some of their amazing story on how they kind of maneuver across 2021, and of course maybe not just 2021 overall. How do they manage that mental stress that they may be going through, whether it's at work or even at play, or putting two of it together. All right, so it's not easy. I know myself, it ain't easy. All right, trying to maneuver my work and trying to making sure that I take care of my parents and be there for my parents as well. But I think at the end of the day, all I would say that it's all worth the while. All right, so unless you're in that shoe, you won't know. Right, so but I will not take up so much of a time. Like I say, I will share a little bit more what IWSI do maybe towards the end of this particular webinar. And meanwhile, I will not steal the show from the four amazing ladies. All right. So thank you so much for your support once again. I'll hand this back to Marie. Thank you, Marie.
Thank you, Annie. Yes, so I'm back. Yeah, so as it is, mental forte is something that we don't just say, "Oh, wake up tomorrow," and we have very strong mental forte. We go through seasons, we go through reasons, and we go through people, we go through all sort of things. So without spending too much time, trying to elaborate what mental forte is, my first speaker is Christina, who is actually now serving in IWFCI, and she is the founder of Gilana Life. And she started the whole thing because she was in a sense sponsored by HSBC, and she felt that there was an area that needed to be there's a gap for mental forte. And so without spending too much time trying to elaborate what mental forte is, I will pass and hand over to Christina to talk about Master M and E and Master Me. Now M is mental, E is emotion. So over to you, Christina.
Yes, thank you, Marie, for the introduction. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon, or morning, or evening to you. Really thankful for Annie to invite on this topic because it's quite close to my heart. Personally, myself, I have always been in a customer service and also serving people in the community. So right now, I do have my work which involve with senior care, meeting the volunteers as well as with the seniors to actually, wow, I would say like rather is observing them. So personally, I do went through quite a bit myself in terms of like just now Annie was mentioning, in terms of like how do we actually manage our life because as a woman we have not just only deal with work, or we are doing businesses as well as we do have our family and loved ones to take care of. So then I thought that to me myself, I think being a holistic, how we manage our life is very important. I will always aim to how to manage my life in a holistical way. Yeah, so as we know, holistic way, I always thought about like our body, right, is physical. We need to take care of this. But sometimes it's very challenging, and especially our mind will think a lot. Yeah, so and also our emotions will be affected as well. So I thought that if we want to carry our life well, we definitely need to learn how to master our mind and our emotions so that we can function daily. When I was young, things are very pretty easy because things are being set up by my parents, like go to schools, and then after that you go to out to work. But then I realized as I grow up as being an adult, a lot of things I have to handle on my own, and there are times where I need to make very difficult choices. And so, what should I do? Right? I believe some of you may also face these issues. Like after when you graduate, you may need to know which jobs to go for, or maybe do I maybe should I start a business? If I start a business, who can I help with and that kind of thing. And of course, after that, you are thinking about your relationships, getting married, and that kind of thing. So I feel that to make really conscious and mindful choices, we definitely need to learn a lot. And through all these things, of course, it's through our experiences with the people and the environment that we actually meet with. So beside, I always like to play words, like being mindful and that kind of thing. So I thought about M, right? Yeah, we can talk about is mental, but also is can be material things, right? The physical part, like is it money? We need to take care of as well. And for the E, right, beside emotion, then you can think of whether what are the essentials that you need to take care of. Yeah, so these are the things that I thought of. By the way, I actually started this Jilana Life. It's out of passion. If I'm not sure if you all know about what does Jilana means. Jilana is actually a Hebrew word, means eternal joy. And I think that all of us, when we come, in this world, we always wanted to contribute, and we wanted to know how can we contribute to the society. What is my purpose on this planet, right? Yeah. So this is always constantly in my mind. Yeah. So I would say that when I was younger, I can sleep more. My mother every time would tell me, say that how come you don't sleep? Every time you sleep so late, I still trying to juggle and try to sleep early. But because our this mind is so difficult to sometimes to quiet them down. Yeah, and because of the desires that we have, we want to achieve so much, and so how can we manage that? What I learned, thankfully, I have very good mentors in my life as well. Throughout the journey that I have, mentors can be our friends, right, from our schools, can be from at our workplace as well. So I do really thankful for those people that I meet along the way during my this journey. So I would like to touch on how then can we master the M? Okay, so for myself personally, I think that sometimes it's not easy to quiet my. I did try meditation. I'm not sure some of you did you try meditation or not. There's this mindfulness meditation, or some they say, oh, you can meditate from your heart. I do like to explore all these spiritual path as well. But some of the times is that whatever we do, right, we get in touch, whether is it suitable for us or may not be suitable for us. So again, we need to make a choice. But I always believe that our heart can always tell us. So that is the emotion part. Because when you experience something, you will know whether you like it or you don't like it. So for myself, right, because my mind cannot rest, one of the reason is also because I'm very inquisitive. I like to observe people. I like to watch people what they do, uh, and maybe because of that, it also built me up of having a very good listening ears. So I do like to hear people's story because I like to learn, and that's why I like to observe people. So that's one of the part. Um, and to myself, right, I always thought about like three things. How can we manage this? First of all, is when we have too much with on us. For example, like at the workplace, or like you may face some subordinates, or you may face some colleagues or staff, which may be stressful, or even your clients. Sometimes they can be demanding. What would I do? So I just want to touch on three things that actually I practice for myself. Okay, have a pause and breathe. So I B's. Okay, first B is breathe, and then second one is taking a break. Is break. Yeah, because sometimes I find that when we do too much at a certain point, right, it's like a breaking point. Because there's if not, we don't have a pause and break, that will be very difficult. Yeah. Thirdly is I find is bridging, connecting with people, and I think that is very important. Because sometimes when we are alone, right, we think that, oh, no one able to understand me, no one able to empathize with me. Actually, it's not true. I realized that when I was very down in my life, actually, I reached out to people, and I found out that there are people out there even, going through much more difficult life than me. So sometimes I feel just want to be very thankful, and I thought that this will be something helpful and useful tips for you. Yeah, so I would like to share to you here. Thanks, Marie.
Good. Short, sweet. Very don't be challenged to absorb everything, but it's very good. So to summarize what you just said, right, it's very important to breathe, break, and breach, the three B's. And it's so important because firstly you need a break for yourself, so that you don't get you're only 24 hours, you cannot be working 25 hours. That's going to cause you a lot of mental breakdown. And then number two is to take a break. It's okay to take a break. If you want to sleep in, you sleep in. If you want to do something, you just do something kind of thing. Don't feel guilty about it. And lastly, do the bridging part, which is like to help people, to connect with people, lim kopi, all these things. Very good pointers. Amazing. So yeah, so thank you so much for the three pointers, Christina. And now I introduce Julia. And is she on board yet? If not, we'll move to the next speaker. Oh, there she is. Beautiful, beautiful Julia is in the house. Now, Julia is, what we call inbound success. I think there's
Exactly,
a
I'm
bit
an
of
inbound success coach with HubSpot.
inbound.
Yes.
Yes. So
Right.
inbound, inbound. So we mentally we must also be inbound. Don't be outbound. So or else you'll be checking out. And so it's my honor and privilege to introduce Julia. Today she's sharing about uncertainty as a lever for building mental strength. And that's very important because uncertainty means that you have to be on your toes all the time. If everything is all lined up for us, we won't be learning anything. So and Julia started her career in hospitality and then graduate. And then, of course, COVID affected everybody, lah, not just, one person, affected the whole world. And therefore, it's very important to have that kind of mental strength to build. And then, yeah, so is Julia back on? She seems to have dropped off. So, yeah.
I think she
Um,
dropped off.
yes. So, okay, never mind. In that case, I will introduce Harmony then. So we wait for Julia to come back on, because rainy weather lah. So internet is a bit unstable. Now, in that case, I will introduce Harmony now. Harmony is a amazing lady, not just gorgeous, not just young, but very courageous. And so I don't want to spoil the party, and I will let Harmony introduce what she does. And Harmony is going to talk about resilience. One small thing that each of us makes a big difference. Just one small little thing. It's such a big thing. So over to you, Harmony, and I let you introduce what you do. So a very, very amazing job. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Marie. So, basically, I am currently holding a funeral home, but in the past I was an auditor. So I was an auditor in Ernst& Young, one of the big four, before proceeding this career transition to become a funeral director dealing with death for a living. And I must say that uh, it's a job that I realize not everyone can handle because um, I started off about 5 years ago, and uh, I started out helping my grandfather in his company. So my grandfather does wholesale export and import of coffins, and I branched out to handle mostly the front line where we liaise directly with the customers instead. So my company is Harmony Funeral Care, and I think in this job, uh, hiring the right people is also one thing because I have had a lot of people who come in thinking that the job is easy or maybe some like fun. That's why you if you realize there are also more and more um, younger undertakers coming into this trade, and that would be the likely trend in the near future because as the older folks, slowly retire, and it's only natural that the younger people will come and take over and learn the ropes of the trade. I've had a staff who, after working for one particular week, and then he said that this is not really for me because after coming into such close contact with the bodies, he realized that this is not something he can handle every day. And it's not just about a physical thing; it's also about the mental thing because um, every day you're dealing with grief and every day you are dealing with so much emotions that the family members can have. So it's a lot to handle, especially if you can't segregate your emotions. At the start, especially when I first entered this trade, I get very entwined in the emotions, and it was hard to segregate my own personal life from my professional life. But as time goes by, I have learned to handle my emotions a lot better. So what I do is I take a lot of breaks for myself. So, but because of this special nature of this job where death is so uncertain and you can get activated for work technically like any time of the day or even at night in the middle of the night, I try to steal pockets of time whenever I'm free, whenever it's the down period, just to have some time to myself to recalibrate and to ensure that I am in the right mental state of mind. I think what we suffer, what we actually have to handle a lot is a lot of compassion fatigue, where um, this compassion fatigue comes in when we have to deal with the family's emotions, because when they lose someone that they love, it's only natural that they have a lot of emotions in them, be it uh, like loss, a huge sense of loss and grief, or even it could also be stemming from a wide range of factors. It could be remorse for not doing better when they were alive, or it could be also guilt, and some could be just the huge sense of loss, having known that this person who they love is no longer going to be around with them anymore in this journey of life. So when this happens, sometimes their emotions can be projected onto us unknowingly and unintentionally, and it takes a lot of conscious effort to remind ourselves in this trait that this is we cannot take whatever that they are projecting onto us personally. Otherwise, we would be super affected after every funeral. And especially because we're dealing with more than one families at any one point in time. And each family usually is about 30 to 40 people. Because if you're talking about the older family structures, right, they're still quite big. Like they can have like 14 siblings. Do I face stress dealing with emotions of the staff? As in my staff, is it like my own staff? I I I think a lot of my staff, when they first enter my company, all of them have experienced the same thing. Like for the first few funerals, they want to cry, they feel really sad with the families, because as we all know, right, emotions are very contagious, same as similar to energies, which is why we always tend to gravitate towards people with higher energies and happier emotions. So of course, when you see a group of families crying, sobbing so hard because of the loss of someone that they love so dearly, it's only natural that we also want to cry, because you can relate. We're all humans. It's natural that we relate certain things similar to them. And that's when I will pull them out and ask them, are they okay emotionally, and to ask them to take a break if they need to, because like I said, this job is not really suitable for everyone. So I have to make sure that emotionally they can handle it besides the physical part of it. And most of them actually managed to pull through, except one or two. So for those one or two, after maybe like 1 week or 2 weeks, I would tell them that, okay, I wish you all the best in your future ventures, because maybe this job is just not suitable for you. Because I've had staff who just can't take the sight of the bodies. And I think also, right, what I want to point out here is also, it's not just about, I think in this job it's very specific. It's compassion fatigue, very similar to healthcare workers. But in life in general, there are bound to be ups and downs, especially when you're doing business. It's not going to be smooth sailing all the way, but because ultimately there are going to be setbacks that's going to get you really hard, and the higher you climb, of course, the harder you fall. But ultimately, it's a matter of your own attitude. A lot of times we think that the whole world is watching us and we are so concerned about what people think, but ultimately it's your own life. So if you really take a step back and take a look at the grander scheme of things, you will realize that whatever you are facing in life right now, it's just part of life. It's part and parcel of life. Not that it's not important, but it's going to shape you into something. Even it's going to shape you into who you are meant to be and what you need to handle in future. So I think most importantly is how you perceive each and every incident in your life. If you take it as a positive learning experience, then it will make a lot of difference, compared to if you're gonna dwell and wallow in self-pity. That's gonna just make things worse without any solutions. But if you take one step back and just remember, it's just part and parcel of life. It's something you have to go through, and you can go through, and that after this is over, life still goes on, and it's not going to change who you are, because your identity is not tagged to your job, or is not tagged to like any particular material possession, but it's tagged to who you are as a person. I think that is going to be what's going to keep you going even in very tough times. Yeah, so it's natural to have setbacks in life, but it's really how you handle it in life, because it's not going to be a bed of roses. But that's what makes life so exciting, right? Because if it's not a challenge, you won't grow. Precisely because it's a challenge, it's something that you have to handle, something tough, then you will grow as a person. It's like a refining stone, right? It's like how diamonds are made. It's also because they continuously refine the stone until it becomes a diamond. So that's how I try to take life, because in my career there has been instances where my employees make mistakes and then I have to face the repercussions as well. It's definitely not easy. Must say it's also very tough, because being the owner of a company, I believe a lot of entrepreneurs out there can also relate. Sometimes there are a lot of variables that you can't control, but it just happens. So ultimately, and at times, of course, I wonder, I'm so young, like, why do I have to go through all this? But ultimately, it's all in the mindset, so that's why I said resilience is very important. If you have the resilience to pull through um, tough times, right? And then whatever happens in life in future, you wouldn't think of it as so big anymore. And you will remember and take it to heart that, yeah, I've been through this and I will go through it again. And I'm strong enough to handle this. And that, it's part of life. It's going to make me a better person. I'm learning something from this. So ultimately, it's really a matter of your mindset. But of course, in your down periods, it's very important to find help if you need. So back then, I was very fortunate, because I was very blessed to have a group of supportive group of friends. And if you actually, I guess if you have led your life well for the past few years, building your career, or if you have treated people right, during times of crisis, you really see your fruits of your labor. So, for example, when I had the incident happen to my employee and I had to take the responsibility for it, I was very blessed, because there were so many people who texted me on a daily basis just to remind me to persevere, to stay on, and to ask me if I was okay emotionally, to care for my well-being. And I felt that, okay, at least, yes, I kind of like screw up, but I the fact that I had so much support also means that I did things right in the past, right? That's why, I mean, we are bound to screw up one way or another, because we are humans, and it's only human to fail in certain areas. But it's how you choose to pick yourself up. And if you do it, when you look back, when you succeed in doing that years later, when you look back, you will realize that, oh, actually, I've grown so much. And you'll be grateful for, like, everything that has happened to you. Yeah. So that's what I have to say and share about resilience. Yeah.
Golly gosh. Golly gosh. So thank you, Harmony. Wow. I won't just have compassion fatigue. I have crying fatigue also. I'll be crying until I fatigue. So that was so amazing with what you do, Harmony, because funeral thing, right? Anything to do with death is actually you need strong mental, not just capability, but also in a sense the ability to handle it. And you're right to say that you don't have to be strong. You can also be, in a sense, be human. Yeah, human. We all come with emotions, ma. So and I like the part when you say death is part and parcel of life. Our job, our materials, our status, our titles got nothing to do with our identity at all. And I love that. And I just think that, if there's not a challenge, as you say, you won't grow. It's very true. So resilient is a small little thing. Then people are teaching a resilient, but I'm not sure what they're teaching, because it's not something that you actually can be taught. It's actually that you caught it, because it's like you go through difficult time, then how you persevere through. That is actually resilient. I'm sure there are theories, but I'm not the expert in that. And so talking about perseverance, right? So Julia came on, so cute, so everything, and then she dropped off, and then now very persevere, come back again, which is very impressive. So, and I'll just hand over the time to Julia. And as said, Julia is she's sharing her experience on tough choices of choosing between passion and growth, and she's talking about uncertainty as a lever for building mental strength. And so over to you, Julia, and I'm sure you have a lot to share with everybody. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Mary, and I'm so sorry for dropping off earlier. It wasn't my intention. Okay, so I do have some slides. Just give me a heads up if you're able to see it. Okay, great. Thank you. So today I will be sharing a little bit more about using uncertainty as a lever to build mental strength. And the reason why I wanted to use this a little bit more visual is because this will be a personal anecdote or story that I went through. And I believe that even though this may not be directly relevant to something that you're going through right now, it could potentially be something that might be relevant for you in, let's say, like the future. So without further ado, let me share with you. Hold on, give me a moment. I think, okay, perfect. Thank you so much. So this is me and my two best friends from university. We graduated very, very happily in 2019, thinking that, the world has a lot in store for us. We're thinking that, hey, we're going to go out to this corporate world, we're going to smash it, things are going to be great. And things were great because I got my first job. I got my first job in Far East Hospitality as a hotel salesperson. I was doing B2B sales, essentially in business travel. So my role within the hotel is, if you were to think of international travel, business travelers coming into Singapore, my role is to grow that portfolio for the hotel. And I was doing a lot of relationship building, a lot of qualifying. Basically, it was a very strategic role. And I was very ecstatic to receive this as my first job. So this is me in Far East Hospitality. I was essentially selling doing cluster sales, selling Village Hotel, Changi, as well as Katong. And some of you may know Katong as the old Paramount Hotel that sells very good dim sum. And also on the left of the image, you can see that I was actually asked to be like a model for the wedding photo shoot. So I have no idea where this went. But in essence, COVID-19 hit. Yeah, so with COVID-19, there are a lot of things. Sorry, if I may actually just share my screen, right? Because I think the slides don't show animation. Give me a moment. Let me just quickly share my screen and let me know if you're able to see the screen. Wait, okay, are you able to see this screen instead?
You mean
This
the
one.
COVID-19 screen? Yeah, okay.
I have switched it to like my desktop. Are you able to
Ah,
see it?
yes.
Okay. So
Hang on.
So what happened was 6 months later, COVID-19 hit. And I was at a loss, mainly because in hotel there's a very long sales cycle. And what happened in a hotel sales cycle typically is that you would usually be planting seeds and growing your portfolio for the first 4 to 6 months. And after 6 months, you will start to see your seed grow into plants and hopefully trees. So this was what happened in 2020, as you can all probably remember. It was circuit breaker. There was a lot of hoo-ha in regards to the cases in Singapore as well as globally. And then I was thinking to myself actually that, within my role context, what happened was that it was great because I got the opportunity to get exposure to other departments such as housekeeping, such as engineering, because my hotels were closed essentially for government usage. So some of us may remember the domestic workers as well as community spread situation. So my hotel in its role was supposed to help the government to aid the stop of the community spread, which was why my job has also been put to a pause. Because previously my job was to provide accommodation for international guests, but right now even traveling couldn't happen, and all of this instead happened. So I was working from home. I was doing a lot of job expansion, and it really reminded me of why I actually chose hospitality to begin with. It is like the camaraderie and of course like the collaboration. So I was thinking to myself, with all this uncertainty and me not being able to do sales, what should I do next? And that was when I received an opportunity. And this opportunity was actually on LinkedIn. And someone connected with me saying, hi, thank you for connecting. Mandarin Oriental Singapore is actually expanding our sales team. Let me know if you're interested. I wasn't actually looking for a job then because I loved my team. I had a very good relationship with my team. But I was thinking, if Mandarin Oriental allows me to do sales, and in the long run, this is something that I wanted to do, why not just go for the interview and try it out? And that was exactly what I did. So I started my new role in February 2021, and I thought, hey, it's going to be something different. And I am going to do sales. I'm going to do hotel sales, and I've always been an aspiring hotelier to hopefully one day become a GM of a prestigious hotel. And then I'm not sure if you remember this, but 2021 took a turn again. So there was the phase 2 heightened alert, phase 2, and then it was a lot of like I would say cha-cha between COVID-19, 1 step forward, 2 step back, 2 step forward, 3 steps back. And that was when I thought to myself, I've been in the hospitality industry before COVID-19 for 6 months, and I held on for like about close to 1.5 years. So like, what's next? Is this really something that I wanted to do in the long run? It was a very difficult decision because ever since I was with Singapore Airlines, which was when I was 21, I already figured that hospitality was something that I was destined to do, and it was going to be like a life mission for me to even be like a thought leader in the hospitality and hopefully educate the younger generations in the hospitality. But that was when I decided to keep my options open and started networking. So I went on LinkedIn, I started speaking to people about their roles. I started to understand a little bit more outside of hospitality, and I was telling myself, like, I am not going to look for a job. If it comes to me, that's great. But I wanted to understand a little bit more first. I didn't want to hop right into it because when you have a passion for a particular industry, it's very difficult to like pull this feeling out of you. But with the COVID situation, I just felt like, it was a necessary step for me to take to be vigilant in like towards myself, like growth, self-growth, personal growth, like what do I prioritize. So I told myself, I'm not going to jump the gun to apply for jobs and spray and pray, but I'm going to start speaking to people, understand what they're going to do, understand what they are doing and why they are doing what they're doing. And then that was when I received an opportunity. So initially, I wanted to apply for an onboarding role within HubSpot and a few of the other big companies like LinkedIn, Salesforce. And the reason why I was thinking about software as a service or the SaaS industry is because I realized that coinciding point with hospitality or hospitality sales is that they actually provide a service to their customers in a form of software. So the primary product here is actually not the software, but the service. And this was where I could provide value at since I was from hospitality. So I remember telling my friends and getting some feedback to see what they think about me applying to tech. And these were some of like the feedback I got. Hospitality to tech, very difficult, Everyone also want to go into tech. Don't be disappointed if you can't. It's actually really normal. And I've actually heard quite a number of stories where people didn't manage to get into tech, even though they were trying very, very, very hard to get into it. But after a lot of networking and also after speaking to people, getting more insights, I decided to apply for a role through referral. And then September 2021 marked my last day in Mandarin Oriental because that was also the beginning of my new role in HubSpot as an inbound success coach. So all of these networking paid off. It was really a time of resilience, not even in my current role, but also in the future that was complete uncertainty for me. There was complete uncertainty because I was in a role, I was in a situation and an environment that essentially no one could predict what will happen in the next 6 months to a year. So with that, I'm just leaving you with a final thought. I'm not sure if any of you have heard this story, but it's basically a story of a carrot, egg, and coffee. And what essentially this story is about is when you put all these three different items in hot boiling water, the carrot would soften and the egg would harden. But what the coffee would do is to make the water aromatic. So in this situation of using uncertainty as a lever to build mental strength, I would probably urge you to think: would you rather be a carrot where you soften in a particular situation, an egg where you completely harden and you don't allow people to get close to you and you close yourself off opportunities, or would you choose to be a coffee bean, which you would then add flavor to the water and basically like pay it forward by passing on the story, so people can also build upon your mental strength, and this gives them the motivation to be resilient as well. So with that, thank you so much for your time, and please connect with me on LinkedIn. And I also have a hashtag called Julia the HubSpotter, and you can follow it to learn more about my journey in HubSpot. That's all.
Wow, that's amazing. Thank you, Julia. Yeah.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me here.
No problem. You know what I heard? I heard the hot spotter. Why you spot hot people? Yeah, it's a hot spotter. Very good. So, the takeaway from what Julia shared is this. You're absolutely right about the carrot, the eggs, and the coffee. And it's that actually prior to jumping to another new thing, right, is to do your studies, do your due diligence first. I find that a lot of people are very emotionally driven. And then when they hit a certain challenge, like, the uncertainty in COVID, for example, right, they say, oh, then I'll be an entrepreneur. or I do this or I do that, but they don't think about like there are gazillion people doing the same thing. And so just to share with you, I've been involved in some of the WSG career this what do you call that roadshow the last 2 days, and I realized that COVID has rendered a lot of people not just jobless but a lot of opportunities as well that they could, that they did not see. So we have a lady that come in and says, I want to do sales. And then I said, okay, sales. Okay, what sort of sales? And so on and so forth. But when I said to her about customer service, so you transcend into this customer service, which is part of sales, which is part of everything. And so she said, I didn't know that. And also, there are opportunities out there. It's just that we just need to find out what it is. And speaking of opportunity, right? The final speaker, but this is not the end yet. Our final speaker only. But then a lot of Q's and A's. I got so many questions to ask all our amazing speakers. It's Felicia Tan, and she's author, speaker, fulfillment coach, and founder. Art of Life Circle. Golly gosh, this is one person that I'm going to pay real big attention and take a lot of notes. And Felicia is she says she's ordinary woman, but I think she does extraordinary job in what she's doing. We are all ordinary but doing extraordinarily. And so she founded Art of Life, and she shares her experience on how she can help women who face similar situations, whether in job loss, whether in death, whether in for Christina Choi in that sense, like how to go through good mental forte, the whole thing. She's going to share that, and she's going to say a mother's journey through loss, hope, and restoration. And I won't take the thunder off her because she got a great story to tell. So over to you, Felicia.
Hi, hello. Wow, thanks for the introduction. Now I'm overwhelmed with the intro. Okay, very tall hat to wear. So actually, yes, I'm Felicia again. So I am actually the author speaker as well. How did it comes to that is also because my journey to become a mother. So what happened was obviously like most people, I got married in 2014, thinking that I will have the what we all know lah, the Cinderella life lah, happily ever after kind of story. So that's where a few years later I thought, I wanted to try for a baby and then, start family. So obviously it didn't went as well. So instead, 6 years into my marriage, it didn't happen. And that's where we went into IVF. So on the first IVF cycle, I conceived, which thankfully I was very happy. But who knows lah, at the 23rd week, I actually miscarried. So what happened was the water bag burst, and I didn't know what went wrong. In fact, I went to shower before rushing to A&E, which obviously was a bad move as well. Subsequently, I realized that it was the water bag that burst, and of course, the baby boy leg has already protruded out. So sadly, 2 days later, he was forced to deliver, and obviously he didn't make it lah. And that was my journey on the first IVF. So I thought, okay, so what's next, right? Of course, we are crying, we are devastated, but we don't know what went wrong. So thinking that, it could be just a random thing or, we went on to a second IVF round. In fact, this time I conceived with twins. So 6 months later, I conceived with twins, and I thought was like, okay, one time settle both and close shop, the kind of thing. So again, we are full of anticipation, hope, and whatever not. And we were, just really hoping that everything turned out well. And of course, evaluating of all the risks that might be. So we knew with twins pregnancy, there's like 6 times higher the risk. But having said so, we were very careful. I was very cautious. In fact, I was self-employed doing my graphic and web design services back then. So I took it upon myself to have more rest. I didn't actively search for new clients. I actually slowed down on my business. In fact, I was resting at home for most of the time, or in fact, at least for the first trimester, resting at home as much as possible, hoping to have the best out of everything. But obviously, at the second trimester, that's when I went to do a procedure called cervical clutch. That is to hold the cervix, ideally to hold to near full term before, we can, remove the stitch and deliver. But sadly, of course, things didn't go as planned. So at 21 week, again, I was bleeding. And this time round, I knew what it entails. So I was rushed to hospital. And sadly, the stitch torn. So then again, at 21 weeks, we were like, asking what had happened, did I do anything wrong? I was already bed resting. I had some checks with doctors, gynaes, and whatsoever. But we know what are the chances, because at 21 week, if they were to deliver, there's no chance they could survive. So the odds are really against us. But having said so, the same thing happened. 2 days later, I was again forced to deliver, and this time with twins, twin losses. So I was back to square one. So I asked myself, back at home, what have I done? Did I miss any sign or whatever? And till then, I actually had written 2 books. On the first pregnancy, first losses, I wrote my first book, To Baby with Love. And of course, it has received quite a fair bit of comments from my friends, readers who read through. And then on second pregnancy, I was like, what's next? I can't be writing books again and then sharing on the same sad story again. But having said so, I was encouraged by my husband. He mentioned that he saw that I found closure with writing the first book. So he encouraged me to write the second book, wanting me to find a similar kind of closure again. But of course, it was very torturing, to recount the whole experience and then to write everything again, and it's the same so-called sad story again. So I was like, what's next? Is there something else? So of course, that's where I seek advice with my publisher. And of course, because of that, we add in some other experiences, advices from experts and whatever not, before publishing the book. But having said so, was that what I want? Obviously not. I would rather have the baby than the books, right? But having said so, it created a channel that I didn't realize was that more people open up to me with their own fair share of stories, with their own journey as well, either miscarriaging or difficulty conceiving and whatever. So because of my book, it opened this door for me to help and even find other gynaes or other high-risk gynaes or either other TCMs in that sense, in that process, that in return help me instead. And likewise, of course, I've heard so many other people sharing about their own journey and how they have, gone through many difficulties to even to have their babies as well, which definitely encouraged me and gave me hope as well that I knew in time to come, I will have my own baby. But of course, the question is always, when is it going to happen? So having said so, then with all the losses and, not to mention the time spent, the health, the health taking a toll on me. And of course, business, my business obviously went downhill a lot. I have to rebuild my business, spend time on my health to rebuild back as well. And of course, not to mention the lost time and of course the money also. So I really took a 2-year break to really rejuvenate, recharge, nourish my health, work on, mental, physical, emotional, whatever, all kind of health, wellness, to take a break for myself and really to ask myself, what is it that I want at the end of the day? Is it having a baby in time to come really still my top priorities, or, it's just maybe part of it, that kind of thing. So it really forces me to relook at my life as well, to know what is it that I want out at the end of the day, and what is it that I want as a family unit with my husband, moving forward and days to come. Of course, we do come to the conclusion that, yes, having a child is still what we want, and we still want to, work on it in that sense. So thankfully, 2 years later, I conceived, and this time naturally. So you can imagine a lot of people are worried about me, concerns, family members, relatives, even my church friends. Everybody is texting me on and off, praying for me or asking me how am I, touching base with me, which I was very thankful as well, because much as I was in a better state, I was more at peace and calm. Having said so, yes, I do have my anxiety moments whereby I'll be wondering, today I don't feel good. Is it something else? Should I, check with my gynae, or, should I, there's always these questions lingering here and there. So I was thankful that, yes, as and when there are friends who always text me to find out how am I, what can they do to help for me at that particular moment. So as the journey moved on, I was glad. Despite I didn't carry my baby to full term, I was glad that I still carry him to 35 weeks. So he was delivered prematurely. Yes, he was in NICU for about a week. Was it challenging? Confirm, you bet. He has breathing issues. So we were very happy that he came out crying, because that was when the baby is crying, not us, that kind of thing. But having said so, yes, to see him in the NICU unit was a pain. And then that's where we're asking, Was it going to be a permanent health issue? Is there something that we could have done better? Stuff like that. There's always the why me? What happened? Did I miss any sign? But having said so, with the baby, uh, already delivered, there's no time to really ask yourself why. And it's more like, be on job, be there for the child, be there for the baby, and really to work on things. So we were thankful, as a family, newfound family, we were trying to, work through things together and really helping each other in that sense, partnering with my husband in that sense to really work through. So because he is still there in the hospital, I'll be, running to and fro to hospital, trying to breastfeed. Of course, people say premature, you need breastfeed, stuff like that. So there's a lot of all this running around, getting me the required rest, so on and so forth, and also taking care of a new young born baby, and when we are first time parents, stuff like that. So there's a lot of challenge moving forward. So if you think that delivering the baby was just the final plan, I'm sorry, this is just step one, just step one. And what I quickly realized is I like installing a TV or whatever. There's no manual, There's no manual. You got to figure your way out. And sometimes whatever the way you thought don't work, then the next thing is trial and error. So there's a lot of steep learning curve for us. And what works for others don't work for us. And also a lot of people sharing their story and their journey. It's nice hearing, but the question is, go with your gut feel sometimes, that to see what may work for them may not work for you. I mean, much as there's well-meaning advice, but it is really you and your child, the bonding and how you feel, to work through things, that I realize at the end of the day, it also going by trust on your own self, and it's also trust with the baby to know, is this something wrong, or is just a false alarm or stuff like that. But it's also having, at the end of the day, I realize, is to have a hope, that to know that, whatever you set out to achieve, you may or may not really work through or get there. But the truth of the story is, did you really try your best? And also, are you happy at the outcome that you arrived there after? So that's one thing that I realized also, because at the end of the day, no one can really comment, are you doing the right thing or the wrong thing? Because it's your own journey, not others. And they despite they can be criticizing or even commenting you, but you yourself know what's best for you and not other people. That's why I realized at the end of the day, and also it's not to live life to regrets, such that at least you have done or tried your best. So I'm glad that at the end of the day, of course, I have my baby, and also every day or every now and then I look at him, I realize that what would happen if I didn't try my best. Today this scenario wouldn't have happened. Today I would not have my child, he would not call me a mom or stuff like that. So all these things would never happen if I didn't believe in myself as well. So I urge everyone listening here as well, is to have hope for yourself, not just for others, but it's really for yourself, to know that indeed, if you have done your best, try your best, that this is good enough, you are fine. You need not be so particular about what people says about you, or commenting about you, because it's not their life, it's your own life lah. Yeah, that's all for me. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Felicia, for sharing so so intimately, so personally. It's a very traumatic time, going through all this sort of thing. Now, all all the participants here, as well as all the viewers here today, is not about death and doom. We're talking about mental resilience. So just in case you do and go, oh my gosh, got funeral thing and got this, all this miscarriage thing. It's not that, because mental is where it starts off, where we start thinking. Emotions is where we start acting. And so when we start off thinking sad, right, then emotionally we push ourselves to be sad kind of thing. And so it's not to say disengage. And I love, what the speaker shared today. It's not just the resilient. I love what Christina said about Gilana. It is eternal joy. eternal joy is not like, you're laughing all the way, happiness all the way. It's the peace inside you, the things that you had done, the things that you had achieved, the things that you set out to do. And I'm sure with Harmony, right, she sees so much of all this death and sadness, and right, she's not going to like wear a very long face, and then wear black and become gothic, or with Felicia, going through all this. And she relates very well to people losing their children, whether it's stillborn or whether when they're involved in accidents or any sort of thing. No parent should bury their children. That's the statement. And but at the end of the day, be at peace that you have done what you have done, what you had done, what you set out to do. So we will start off with questions. If you have any questions that you have, please feel free to put on Facebook, or put it on Facebook, or you can even let us know what you want to ask. But I'm gonna ask a few questions, okay, to the speakers first. So I'll start with Harmony. Now, Harmony, you don't just fall into the funeral business. You don't just say wake up one day and then suddenly you start doing all the funeral stuff, right? Your first encounter, your very first encounter, what was going through your head? That's why we talk about mental. What was going through your head when you saw what you needed to do, what had to be done?
What I think back then, when I first had to deal with handling the bodies, I was actually, because I was very hungry for growth, so I was although the workers actually tell me not to touch the bodies lah, because after all they were like, okay, 5 years ago, not a lot of females were in this job and industry, so a lot of them, they don't really, they can't really picture a female doing the job where you change the clothes of the deceased, or maybe even transferring the bodies from one location to another. So they actually told me to don't come, we'll handle it, don't worry. But because I wanted to learn as fast as I can the ins and outs of doing a funeral, so I was very eager to be hands on. Of course, certain scenarios does make me hesitate. Like for example, bodies who have been maybe found only a few days later. So bodies like that can, because it has been left there for quite some time. Very often there would be an order, and very often it might not be in the most ideal shape already. So even when you are done with the proper equipment with a mask, sometimes you still can smell the order. But it was it was an eye opener and very interesting experience. And I guess one thing that really shook me until now was that because when we pass away, sometimes our muscles relax, and then when our muscles relax very naturally, the eyes will open and the mouth will open. It's not that the person didn't die in peace. It's more scientific rather than not. So when I had to collect a body whose eyes just wouldn't close, no matter how many times the family tried to close his eyes, I realized that when the saying that says there's a saying that says the eyes are the windows to your soul is so true, because when I looked into the person's eyes, the body's eyes, it's like two clear marbles, and that's just about it. Like there's no life in it at all. It's soulless. So that's when I realized that actually it's so true. When you're looking at a living body, right? When you actually peer into their eyes, you can sense and feel a lot of things. Like, when someone is in fear, you can even tell from their eye expression. But when a person dies, really, that's just about it. It's like there's no more life in the eyes anymore. And that was one thing that really caught me, because I realized then that, of course, we have different religions surrounding us, right? That have different beliefs about afterlife, after death. But to be honest, do we really, really, really know where we are going after death? No one really, really knows. I mean, it's a question mark as of now. We don't know, and because we have not done it before, it's only belief in whatever religion that we have that cause us to have certain beliefs. So it makes me realize that if we want to do anything, we should really do it when we are alive, and that includes spending time with our loved ones, cherishing what we have, being grateful, and not wait until it's too late. Because a lot of times you just don't know when's your last moment.
Exactly.
Yeah.
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 Wonderful. Now, there's a reason for me asking this question. Not that I'm being morbid
Yeah.
here, do CSI thing. I think that the question was because all of us, right, we talk about work, we talk about passion. We can go in so happy, so, like Cinderella story, right? Wow, this is the best job ever. This is the best entrepreneurship ever. And then when you face challenges, right, then your life goes,
Yeah.
listless, your eyes goes listless. What the hell am I getting myself into? Or, you're bullied at work, or you don't
Yeah.
get fulfillment. And it's so important because we need to
Yeah.
reference that, because it's a form of death of
Yeah.
passion, or death of lack of perhaps enthusiasm, or excitement. And grief is part of losing your job too. You lose something, you grieve. You move house also, you grieve. And because all your memories are there. So there's a reason why I reference back to death in that sense, because
Yeah.
everything
Yeah.
we go through, there's a shelf life,
Mm.
unfortunately. And it's not forever, whether it's human being, or whether it's a job, whether it's even now microwave lasts only 1 year. So it
Yeah.
doesn't last that long. Yeah. So yeah, thank you for sharing. And I tell you, you're so courageous. uh I was once invited by the state coroner of Australia to visit his office to see him do an autopsy. I
Oh,
said, no, thank
wow.
you. I was like, yeah, for you it's, oh wow, for me it's, oh no god, I'm not going. And so it's very interesting. But I love all these crime stories and all that, because behind every story there's the reason, there's all sorts of things,
Yeah.
which then
Yeah.
bring me to
Of
Felicia.
course.
And Felicia, what you're
Mm.
sharing, right, is so important, because I have a platform for women who go through trauma, cases like yours, on top of other things like domestic violence, rape, all sort of thing, abortion, the whole thing. And some of them have beaten themselves to the state where, like, they cannot raise themselves up. So they have lied on that rock bottom state. And so what goes through their head, and we were talking about mental here, what goes through their head is like, I'm at fault. It's my fault. I did not do this. I did not do that. So what was the thing that helped you to go over to the other side to say, okay, look, I've done everything I possibly could. Yeah, your grief is still there, but that doesn't mean that you are nonchalant. You're not saying that you cut yourself off, disconnect. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that the process of saying, like, stop blaming yourself and start doing something about it. What was the thing that helped you?
Wow, that's a very tough question, actually.
Mm.
But I think the initial state, of course, yes, there's a lot of self blame. Then you are questioning yourself. After all, you are the one carrying the baby. But subsequently, there is a point at the first, especially I remember was the first pregnancy, was that because at 23 weeks, the gynae actually talked to us, was that at 24 weeks, the baby has 50% chances of survival. 23 weeks is almost zero. So it's very hard information to digest. And also, having said so, they say, okay, they will try to resuscitate. But as to how long to resuscitate is the question. Because, of course, the longer it takes, there's more complication, more risk, so on and so forth. So we have to come to a conclusion whereby, when do we stop resuscitating? So that was the very hard question. And back then, I was like in multiples of jabs, like injections, medication. I was very drowsy already, not even clear, sober, so to speak. So I left the decision making to my husband. And of course, yes, there are people who always ask, do you regret what he made the decision on, and so on and so forth. So for me, because I decided that I left the decision to him, and he made the best out of it. And that's what I believe. So there's no questioning of it. So I have that trust in him. And likewise, for him, he has the trust in me that I've done in my best, where I could. So having said so, yes, when we do subsequently have our next pregnancy or stuff like that. So there's a lot of asking questions on each other, just to make sure we clear our doubts, we don't question, and there's no blaming, so to speak. So, for example, even a small thing like, should I have a lemon tea today? The kind of thing. So I'll text my husband and ask, should I have a lemon tea? So my mom was like, lemon tea also need to ask, so strict. So I was like, it's not about strict or not. In case later any issue, at least I know, we decided it should be okay, that kind of thing. So there's no blaming thereafter, and we are like, clear on that matters. So because we never know. We never know the pregnancy will lead, or one thing lead to another. Who knows? I drink this, I trigger a stomach ache, I fall down later, stuff like that. Then I'll be blaming and then go through the spiral, that kind of thing. So it's a combined decision that we decided, okay, it's fine, there's nothing to it. Let's go. Same thing, even I feel like, oh, I have a bad constipation. Was it a constipation or was it something else? Should I see a doctor? Blah, blah, see gynae, see this, see that. So then I check with him and he say, okay, if you think it's a concern, then let's just get it, So there's no lingering question mark that we clear there and then. And me and my husband are very clear on that point. Okay, we are done with this situation. I think we are okay. We are fine. There's no, there's no doubt. Let's move on. That's the thing that we come to a consensus somehow, so that there's no blaming and we are comfortable and we both decided that was the best scenario. And that's how we intend to move on, so to speak. So then, so I think it helps a lot in that sense. And then, yes, irregardless, whatever the outcome is, we embrace lah. We embrace.
I love that. I love what you're saying. It's like, don't blame lah. In other words, if it happens, sometimes it could be natural. It's not, we can't do anything about it kind of thing. Which brings me to ask Christina a question. And so I want to ask all the speakers different questions, because I find that Christina touched on, the brief break bridging kind of thing, which means that, when people go through issues, whether it's job, whether it's entrepreneurship, whether it's death, whether it's any sort of thing, right? What is the essential thing that they need, right, to kind of like, to help them process and at the same time go through that, so that they can go towards, not just recalibration but also rejuvenation?
Yeah. So, Marie, you're saying that how are we going to do that? Or
yeah. So
Okay.
is there one essential point that you can give to the viewers?
Actually, I'm very touched and moved by the stories, that all the speakers today have shared. And I'm very moved by Felicia, even the jobs harmony, and as well as Julia just now, because she reminds me of being very bubbly, how we all young ladies come out since start of school. Yeah. Actually, I'm also still learning. I won't say that I have all the answers. Personally, I actually was very drawn to what Felicia had shared, because for myself as well, I got married and out of the desire, because I actually married very late, because due to past few relationship, they didn't want to get married, that kind of stuff. And so when I met my current husband, we were quite late, near to 40s when we got married. And it's really not easy to conceive, and we tried. And I always even have this whether do I have a closure on that? Yeah. But what just now Felicia mentioned is very true, is we must be very clear and have a conscious, make a conscious choice. Yeah. And because as we know that making children, right, is not one party. Yeah. I do have friends who have, don't want to get married and just go and have kids, and that's it. Yeah, I do have friends like this. But of course, sometimes we never think about the consequences. Yeah, and I'm very thankful to have a very wise husband. So sometimes I also very thankful to have a husband who is very supportive, and he said that sometimes may not be necessary must have children, to fulfill our life. Yeah, so that is why I realized that thankfully we have friends. That's why I just earlier mentioned that we definitely must be always be thankful and be blessed. And that's how I keep my life, being positive. And many of my friends who knows me or watching now live, right, they will know that I always been very positive. But being very positive and happy, laughing, and just like Marie was saying, right, it's not always a bed of roses. Means that, oh, you're so blessed, your life's so good, It's not necessary that way. But having that mental attitude is very important to keep us going, right? And we cannot just give up. Like you said, we need to have hope. And I am very thankful for that. Yeah. Thanks, Marie.
Welcome. Welcome, welcome. So thank you for the pointers. Now we need to hear from the president because she's been keeping quiet, smiling, laughing away, and then we all miss her voice. So, President Annie, do you have any questions you'd like to raise?
Any questions? I don't have any question for them. But I just want to add on to say that I think all of us have our different journey that we go through. All right. Some people who see me now will think that wow, I've always had a fantastic life and all that, everything like such a rose of a bed of rose, or a bed of roses and all that, right? Only until they know that I too had the misfortune or unfortunate path of going through a divorce and all that kind of thing. But so that's also where I got to know Felicia because we were sharing at this thing called Human Library, where we talk about our stories, and so on and so forth. And only then did people realize that yeah, I too have gone through my own little journey of going to a not so ideal marriage and how I got out. And I too had my self doubt at that point in time. Or wondering whether why did I make the mistake? Why did I do what I did? I could have like put a stop to it. And like what earlier on was saying that the blame game, right? So I went through all that. Okay, wondering whether did I make a mistake? Did I not? Wasn't I smart enough then to realize that this was not the right person to marry, and so on and so forth. So I'm also very thankful then that I have like friends around me, mentors around me who actually kind of like guide me through, all right, and let me know that well, Annie, you've done what you have to do as a wife then, or it's just unfortunate, like maybe that marriage was just not meant to be. Yeah, so I think it's through all this little advice from friends that I realized that yeah, it's not none of us intentionally walk into a journey or start a journey wanting it to fail. I think all of us, we have that little bit fairy tale thing that we marry the person we wish that we will be happy ever after. All right. And I think it's a lot of hard work. Like I used to share with some of my clients and my friends that I think a marriage work. You all know Marie has a fantastic marriage. Okay, we all know. I know Vincent. All right. But I'm sure it didn't happen overnight. I'm sure they have their fair fights. All right. Yeah. So maybe he'll just pacify you with Snoopy and that's it lah. All right. But I'm sure they have their fair share of fights. I'm sure they also have their fair share of wonderful moments. And like for my case, I also say, my marriage didn't work. It definitely cannot be just my ex-husband's fault. I definitely had a part to play that contributed to that. And I think when that happened, when I managed to acknowledge that, it removes that mental stress. It made me realize that, yeah, it's just unfortunate, right? That perhaps stress at work, stress at family, put everything together. All right. And I've got people asking me, Annie, if you have children, would you have divorced your ex-husband? And I told them I can't answer. I mean, I can't give you an answer of this is too hypothetical, right? I told them I might quit even faster because of maybe fear for my child, for example, right? Or I could have just stuck it on and say that, look, I think my child needs a complete family. And I could have said, I can't give you an answer, right? So I said, don't ask me a question, I can give you an answer. But yes, I too have gone through my own fair share. But I tell myself, learn from it. Okay, we all go through it. We all learn from it. And I think there's nothing shameful. Okay, whether we marry late. I mean, I marry late, maybe not as late as Christina. I married in my 30s, right? For Felicia, you unfortunately lost 3 child. I think all of us go through a certain path, but as long as we learn from it, we grow from it. I think that's more important for our own mental health and our own mental wellness, right? I mean, we can talk about it, no problem. All right, but I think the important is, are you really doing it? It's very easy. We hear a lot of gurus out there that say, you must do A, you must do B, you must do C. But then when you look at the gurus themselves, are they even doing A or even B or even C? Sadly, sometimes they do none of that. Right? So that's why for me, right, I tell people up front, I say, I'm not somebody that goes into all the guru books and all that. I believe you say do it, you better do it. All right? If you tell me that you're my coach, you're telling me to do A, are you doing A yourself? You're not doing A yourself, I already have a question mark there. All right. So I think we all can be coaches. Like for example, Felicia can definitely coach somebody out of the grief that they go through if they share the same idea of that kind of grief. But your grief will never be the same, right? Same thing for somebody. I could have talked to somebody about divorce and all that. Marie could share with somebody about how you sustain such a long, happy marriage. Christina could talk to somebody about interracial marriage. All of us can. All right. We don't need to have that name guru or that thing or that certification there to say we can. We can, all can if we choose to. All right. So yeah, I better don't say anymore. Anyway, thank you so much, ladies, for coming on.
Yeah, so I'm not a guru like garang. So, so everybody say, we have happy marriage, but they forgot that the bedroom door have fall off the hinges many times already, lah. Slam, 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 and then take a screwdriver, screw back. So, yeah. So thank you for so much for all the sharings. Are absolutely fantastic. And I just want to wrap up with 3 points, lah. Okay, point number one is that don't blame because circumstances happen. We don't know. It's not like you deliberately want to do things to cause any misfortune. Okay. Number two, what can you learn out of all your failings? It's okay to fail, you're human, but what can you learn out of it? And number three is to seek support because that's the big thing that came out, supportive people coming alongside to help us. So I will hand over to Annie, President Annie, to close. And I thank you for giving me the honor, the opportunity, and the time to host all of you. I learned so much. I really do. And I really love all the sharings because I think they're absolutely crucial to build mental forte, mental ability and capability that when we go through issues, right, a good mental health is part of what we should be building on. So Annie, over to you.
Thank you so much, Marie. All right, so thank you so much, and to all the ladies out there who have contributed, not just for today's session. I mean, this is our fourth webinar, so we already have another 3 earlier on. So to all the ladies speakers who have joined us in the last 3 sessions, including today, thank you for taking that time off. I know although it's only an hour and a half, you definitely have to put that time aside to join us for the last 4 sessions of webinar that IWFCIS has put out in preparation for our Global Women Trade Summit that is going to take place in Singapore in September next year. All right, so just a little brief about what IWFCI do. We are actually headquartered in Australia. Singapore is the first national chapter. This is our 15th year. I like to believe that we are a global platform, but here in Singapore, we function kind of like a little boutique style of trade association. We reach out to women in business. We reach out to also professional women. We are here to hopefully bring across the idea of BRIM. All right, and what exactly is BRIM? It basically refers to business, relationship, image, and mental attitude. All right, hang on. Wait, because the other speaker is asking, does she need to come in? So like I say, so it basically refers to business, relationship, image, and mental attitude. And why BRIM? Because we believe that as we run our business or as we stay on in our career, in our working life, we have to still continue to build good relationship, whether is it professionally or whether is it personally. I think all of us here on this platform, we have amazing partners, amazing family members that supported us all the way. Some of them may do very little things, some of them may be a little bit more forthcoming in terms of support, but they are definitely there to support. And image, I mean, all of us as women, right? All the more we have to be mindful of our image, whether is it professionally, whether is it personally, or whether is it for our own, our own corporate image, right? Some of us have our business and all that, and our corporate image, all right? And mental attitude, like what we're saying today, is basically talking about how do we hold everything together. As a women in business, we don't just have to deal with our work, all right? We also have to deal with our family and so on and so forth. So how do we put that all together and still stay safe? All right. So, that's what I basically strive to do for our members and also for women that crosses our path. All right. So we are like small little boutique trade association, but we are constantly growing. We reach out to women who would like to know more, to connect with us on our Facebook page. Right, we'll be happy to be sharing more with you. Christina, incidentally, our membership chat. All right, she's working very hard for the last 1 year, all right, because we know we can't see people, all right, but she's working very hard using through a network to influence and to invite people to join us. So thank you very much, Christina, for all your help. And yes, so if you'd like to know more about what IWCI do, and in particular, what is going to be happening during the Global Women Trade Summit next year, like I say, do connect with us on Facebook. All right, we'll be more than happy to share more information there, and we'll also be more than happy to let you know how can you be part of this global summit that will take place in Singapore. It's a 2-day event, all right, whereby generally most of the people coming will be members from the other 10 chapters around the world, right? So it'll be women, getting to know women, doing business together. So it's going to be a wonderful experience. So we welcome women, business or working, to actually join us for that particular summit in September next year. Thank you very much. Back to
Sure.
you. What do you
Thanks for joining us again. So we'll wrap up the session and hope to see you next year or next session or any IWFCI activities. So see you. Take care. Stay safe.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.